Going to speak on this topic called Relevance of Bhaskaracharya's Lilavati to Mathematics Education in 21st Century. See, we are at the stage of implementing national education policy. And one of the important aim of national education policy is to get away from colonization and bring in Indian knowledge system. And in an effort, what could be done? This is one of the area which we can work in. So I will, being a man in the field of education, I will look at the Lilavati through the pedagogic point. I'll present the pedagogic analysis of Lilavati and then say how it is relevant for 21st century. But before I do that, let me share with you what made me to go through this book and understand what is there in Lilavati. The story starts from Japan. This was October 2012 when I had been to Kyoto Sangyo University. Actually, I went to attend a conference in Osaka, but because I had acquaintance with Professor Michio Yano, this is the person, uh, I went to Kyoto Sangyo University. He has arranged my lecture there, and I had a very close interaction. This person, whose name is Michio Yano, is a Sanskrit scholar, and he has translated many Sanskrit books in Japanese and English. He is his colleague who is working on Brahmagupta's book, and this is a student who was at that time working on Aryabhatiya. So I had a interaction at the university, and after the interaction, we came to the room of Professor Michio Yano, and you can see his room is full of books. At the end of the discussion, when I said, "Sir, I would like to now leave," he gave me a book. I opened it from the left side. That is our style. He said, "No, no, it has to be opened from the right hand side." Whether left side or right hand side, I am totally ignorant. I could not read anything because it was written in Japanese. I asked him, "What is this?" He said, "This is Lilavati. This is the Japanese translation of Lilavati." So I asked him, "What made you to translate this?" He said, "A wonderful book, very interesting problems. Even those who are not interested in mathematics will get interested." So I was impressed, and therefore I have translated this into Japanese. And it's a very popular book in Japan. So many editions have been completed. Now it is going into the new edition. And the last statement that he made, "For you, anyway, it's your book. All of you must be, even the school students must be reading this." So I said, "Sir, sorry, I am 62 years old, but even now, even still now, I have not read this book." He said, "Then it's a shame." So it was October 2012 when I promised him that I will read, understand, and share with you what are my uh, impressions about this book. So that was my last year at the Homi Bhabha Center. So I was so busy, I could not really do much. Next year, I had an opportunity to go to Brazil. I was invited to give a lecture at the University of Sao Paulo at Rio Claro. And they invited me to speak on my work on mathematics education, as it has been told that I have worked for the tribal children and I have developed remedial mode of techniques of teaching mathematics to these tribal students. So I shared my experiences with them, and they have a practice of what is called discussion uh, and the round table. So after the lecture, some people raise the questions and then go away. But if you want to have a serious discussion, the speaker and the interested members come together, sit around the table and discuss. So this was a discussion going on. You can see this picture. This white shirt is me, and there are other research scholars and professors from University of Sao Paulo. This man asked me a question. He said, "Dr. Agarkar, we teach Bhaskara formula in our schools. Who was this Bhaskara? Now, I was clean bold. Because I studied from grade 1 to MSc, I never encountered any Bhaskara formula. And I tried to escape, save my skin. So there were two Bhaskaras. Which Bhaskara are you referring to? But he knew. He said this person who was born in 12th century and was an astronomer and all that. Then I realized who that person was. But then I asked, which are you referring to? And he said this, the solution of quadratic equation, which of course I have written in the accepted English format, is called as
Yeah.
Bhaskara formula there. So I got him. So that they said also, which means there is a awareness about Bhaskaracharya, about Lilavati, and outside. And what are we doing? So I said that let me um, devote my time on this. By that time, I got retired from Home Center, so I could devote my full time to this work. After coming back to India, I started searching for Bhaskaracharya first. Who was this person? What did he do? What was the time? Where was he born? Etc. Etc. And when I went to the historical aspect, I learned that there is a place called Patan near Chalisgaon in Maharashtra, in the Jalgaon district of Maharashtra, where there is a statue of Bhaskaracharya. There is also Lilavati garden. So I made a point to go there. This is a picture of the statue of Bhaskaracharya, possibly erected by his grandson Changdev, because Changdev had a ashram here. That information we get through the stone carving at a later stage. So it was a very pleasing experience for me to stand near the statue of Bhaskaracharya and get a picture. And this is what I'm trying to show you. This place is about 15 kilometers away from Chalisgaon on the Chalisgaon-Aurangabad road, and it's a reserve forest, the thick forest, and you have to get the permission to enter there. It's easy, of course. It's controlled by forest department. There is also a rest house if someone wants to stay there. So at near Patan, there is a temple called Patna Devi, and at the temple there is a stone carving. And this stone carving, of course, you cannot read much. Usually, it is kept upside down and not to spoil it. But if you really want to know what it is, they will show you. So, what is written? There is the half part is written in Sanskrit and half part is written in a local language. So, it is written that Bhaskaracharya wrote Siddhanta Shiromani, which gets considered crown of treatises, in Shalivanshaka 1072, which is 1150 AD, at the age of 36, which means he was born in 1114 AD. Then it is also written that Bhaskaracharya means Bhaskara the teacher. He studied the works of Aryabhatta, Varahabhira, Brahmagupta, etc. And he was a head of astronomy group at that time. The Changdev, who was the grandson of Bhaskaracharya, had his ashram there, and he received support from those kings at that time, those were Yadava, and also local people in this region. This is what is the information about Bhaskaracharya. After getting some information about Bhaskaracharya, I started searching for Lilavati. And when I started searching for Lilavati, I realized that this book is not easily available. I could find it in the Institute of Oriental Study at Thane. Of course, not the original one, the translated versions, copied versions, around that. Then I realized that there are translations in Marathi. Professor N.H. Phadke has translated into Marathi. There is a Hindi translation, there is a Kannada translation, there is a Telugu translation, and also there is an English translation by James Henry Colebrook. Henry Colebrook translated this into English. And this book by Henry Colebrook, titled Lilavati, is available on the internet. You can download it in the PDF format. Today, I am using the English translation given by Henry Colebrook. Okay. Now, the Lilavati is a book of mathematics, but it starts with a prayer. And this is what I'm saying, invocation. Invocation goes like this. It says, Priti Bhakta Janasya Yo Janayate Vigram Vinigram Surtaha Tam Vrundara Vrunda Vita Natva Matanganam Pati Sadgarisya Vachmi Chatura Priti Pradam Prasfutam Sankshiptakshara Omala Mala Padair Lalita Lilavati. Now, this, I'm not an expert in Sanskrit, so excuse me if there is any mistake from my side in reading this. Let me give you the English translation. Having bowed to the deity, whose head is like an elephant, whose feet are adorned by God, who, when called to bind, relieves his votaries from embarrassment and bestows happiness on his worshippers, I propound this easy process of computation, delightful by its elegance, perspicuous with words concise, soft and correct, and pleasing to the learned. So Bhaskaracharya describes the qualities of the book that he has written in his very first shloka. There are about 260 shlokas in the book. Today I will be able to refer to 10, 15 of them, not more. And it discusses various aspects. So what I have done today is, instead of going into different shlokas, I am trying to look at Lilavati through the pedagogic point of view, because I worked in the field of education. And if you look at the book in this direction and undertake pedagogic analysis, what you see is this. You see, in general, mathematics is a subject not liked by many girls. And there are very few women in mathematics. And in fact, we have been told that girls were not allowed to take formal education earlier, and they might take some education which is used to their life, but not mathematics. But here, this book addresses a girl. And in fact, there is a very interesting story. The story goes like this. The story is, when Bhaskaracharya prepared the horoscope of his daughter Lilavati. Lilavati was the name of his daughter. He prepared the horoscope and he found that after marriage, her husband will die within a short time and she will become widow. In order to avoid this, he had worked out a specific time, it's called Ghatika, where she should get married. And therefore, he had a Ghatika Patra. Ghatika Patra is a bowl with a hole here, and put it in water. When it go down, the Lagna Ghatika would reach. So this girl was had a makeup with all those ornaments. So it so happened that she went to see how much time is left, and one small rounded piece fell into the Ghatika Patra, the hole closed, and it did not deep at the time it was. And people say, whatever fate has decided, the same thing happened. She became a widow after some years and came back to the father. And in order to keep her engaged and busy, he used to pose questions to her. And she was so intelligent that as soon as the father would pose a question, a mathematical question, she would respond it. So the discussion between father and daughter is in Lilavati, which is a very different style of writing a book. Now, let us look at this sloka, and you will find how he gives respect to this daughter. The sloka goes like this. Bale बाल कुरंग लोल नयने लीलावती प्रोच्चात्यां पंत्रिक कमिता दिवाकर गुणा अंक कति सूर्यदी रापस्थान विभाग खंड गुणने कल्पासी कल्याणिनी छिन्नस्तेन गुणेन तेच गुणिता अंका कति सूर्वद. So this gets translated as a beautiful and dear Lilavati, whose eyes are like fawns. Uh, Tell me the numbers resulting from 135 taken into 12. If thou be skilled in multiplication by whole or parts, whether by subdivision, a form of separation of digits, tell me, auspicious woman, the quotient of the product divided by the same multiplier. So you can see he is addressing Lilavati. We call in our language we call Harinakshi, the girl with eyes like Harin. Henry Colebrook has translated this into like this. So which means you can see here is the advocacy of gender equity. He is not only referring to boys or men. He is directly addressing to the girl. So let us look at the second aspect. Second aspect is formulation. See, as I told you, Bhaskaracharya has written about 260 shlokas, of which some are spent in describing, arriving at the formula or describing the procedure. And then he gives the problem. He has not solved any problem in the entire book. Our students was now so much familiar with coaching classes and guides somehow don't like this, but this is true. He has not, and there is no need for him to solve, because whatever formulation he gives, if you follow it, you will certainly arrive at the answer. So he gives the formula or the procedure first, and then gives the problem. Here it is the surface area of the sphere. तो वृत्तक्षेत्रे परिगणित तद्व्यास्पाद फलभ्यत चुन्नम वैदैरूपरी परितः कंदुकस्येय जालम गोलस्येवं तदपि च फलम पृष्ठयं व्यासनिघ्नं षड बिर्भिक्तम भवति नियतम गोलगर्भे घनाख्यम. So here the translation is simple. In a circle, a quarter of diameter multiplied the circle is the area. That multiplied by 4 is the net all around the ball. This content of the surface of the sphere multiplied by the diameter and divided by 6 is the precise solid termed cubic content within the sphere. At this moment, I'm not going to explain everything. I'm just trying to look at the book in the pedagogy. When I conduct workshops, I explain this and get the make the students work out the problem. Anyway, let me proceed further and describe one more pedagogic characteristics. And the pedagogic characteristic, you see, when a teacher teaches a child, there are two ways. Number one is, mathematics is a difficult subject. It is not your cup of tea. No one in your family has studied mathematics, so don't think of that. This is one. Another is, mathematics is a subject which anyone can understand. So be a mathematician and start doing it. You will succeed. So you are encouraged. We are also, and if you do know this, you will be able to. So you are also challenging, not only encouraging, challenging also. This is one more characteristics. एकविंशत्युतं षड्वं यदगुणं गणक पंचषष्ठीयुग पंचार्विज शतद्वय युद्धतम शुद्धिमोति गुणकम वदतु तत. So translation is, say quickly, mathematician. He is saying, say quickly. And he is addressing the person as mathematician. What is the multiplier by which 221 being multiplied and 65 added to the product? The sum divided by 100 and 95 becomes exhausted. And you follow the procedure and you will come to the answer. Okay, one more characteristics. See, mathematics need not be colorless, orderless, testless. mathematics can be made interesting. So in order to make mathematical problem interesting, what Bhaskaracharya does is Bhaskaracharya creates situations. And in his situation, variety of animals, birds come. So here is a slok where he has involved a snake and a peacock, and very very famous example, and which will create interest among all the students. So which I have found, I'll describe it when I discuss the my experience of conducting workshops. So अस्ति स्तंभतले बिलम तदुपरि क्रीडा शिखंडी स्थिता स्तंभे हस्तन वोचिते त्रिगुण स्तंभ प्रमाणांतरे दृष्टवाहिम बिलमाव्रजतम मत पतत तीर्यकस तस्योपरि क्षिप्रम गृहीत योर्बिलात्तक तिमितै साम्येन गत्तोर्युति. So translation is, a snake hole is at the feet of a pillar, 9 cubic high. So the height of the pillar is 9 cubits. Cubits means hand. In earlier, there was no foot or inch, so hand was the unit. And a peacock is perched on its summit. Seeing the snake at a distance of thrice the pillar gliding towards the hole, he pounces obliquely. So pillar is 9 cubits, which means the snake is at the distance of 27 cubits. Say quickly how many cubits from the snake hole they meet, both proceeding at equal distance. This is actually for problem to be solved using Katyayan's theorem, which we know Pythagoras theorem. And very, very interesting. The answer comes 12. Okay, let me also give you few more characteristics. Here is not only he limits himself to birds, flowers, etc. He also take examples from historical situations. Here is the example from Mahabharata. It says, Partha Karnavadhaya Margana Kruddho Rane Sandhe Tasyardhe Nivarya Tacharagana Mulaischatur Bhihreyana Shalya Shadbhirte Shubhritri Bhistri Bhirapi Chatram Dvajam Karbukam Chiche Dasya Siraha Sharena Katiye Yanarjuna Sandhe. So translation is, the son of Pritha, irritated in a fight, shot a quiver of arrows to slay Karna. With half his arrows, he parried those of his antagonists. With 4 times the square root of quiver full, he killed his horses. With 6 arrows, he slew Shalya. With 3, he demolished the umbrella, standard and bow. And with 1, he cut the head of his foe. How many were the arrows the Arjuna let fly? In all the earlier cases, I have not given you any answer. But let me tell you, the answer here is 100. So you solve the problem the way he has suggested. And you can also form equation, and using algebra you can solve it. The answer comes to be 100 in this case. Fine. So let us look at another quality. So he creates problem solving situations. So problem solving is an important skill in anybody's life. And for 21st century, this is considered to be one of the important skills people should have. You have to not be a problem creator. You have to be a problem solver. And this comes through variety of ways. Here is one situation here. So Chakra Kauncha Kulita Salilekwapi Drishtam Tadage तो यादु ध्रुव कमल कलिगा काग्र वितस्ति प्रमाणम मंदम मंदम चलित मनिलेना हस्तयुग्मे तस्मिन् गन्व कनक कथय क्षिप्रभु प्रमाणम. It gets translation as, in a certain lake swarming with ruddy geese and cranes. So he is using now birds. The tip of a bud of lotus was seen a span above the surface of the water. Forced by the wind, it gradually advanced and was submerged at a distance of 2 cubits. Compute quickly, mathematician, the depth of the water. So here situation is there is a tree, lotus actually. Because of the air, it bends and touches, and creating this situation, he has given the problem, and you need to solve it. Very interesting problem. Let us go to um, another characteristics. See, our education presently is such a closed-ended approach. So unless your answer is matching with the answer given by this called model answer, you don't get good marks. And in fact, you get 0 marks. It's true that zero has been used for the first time by Indian, but I suggest teachers not to use zero so repeatedly because students get frustrated from those zeros. But anyway, so here he tries to give you the open-ended approach. He says you can use any method. In this shloka, he has given 5 different ways of multiplication. And what are they? I'll describe. Gunyatmakam gunakena hanyata utsarite nava upantyamaadina madina गुण्यस्तवधो गुणखंडतुल्यः तैखंडके संगुणितो युतो वा भक्तो गुणा शुद्धति येन तेन लब्ध्याच गुण्य गुणित फलवा द्विभाव भव द्रुप विभाग एवं पृथग्वा गुणित समेत इष्टो न युकतेन गुणेत निघ्ने भ्रष्ट घन गुण्यात वित वर्जितो वा. So here he suggests 5 different methods of multiplication, which are one is called Rupa Gunarit, which means our standard method of suppose I am multiplying 156 by 16. So you use the table of 16 and answer. Another is Khanda Gunarit, which says you divide this into either equal part, unequal part, and do multiplication twice. So I am showing it. 16 is 8 plus 8. So 156 into 8 and 156 into 8. Then Vibhaga Gunarit. Here what suggested is 16 can be divided into 4 into 4. So you first multiply by 4 and whatever answer comes, you have another 4 to be multiplied. Then there is Sthana Gunarit. Sthana Gunarit is what is Sthan? So 16 is 1 and 6. So 6 on the right hand side is at the units place and 1 at the left hand side is at the tens place. So that 1 is 10. So it is 10 plus 6. So multiply 156 by 10 and then multiply 156 by 6 and add them. And then there's the Ishtankarit. The Ishtankarit says you assume one number which is convenient for you. 16 is closer to 20, so I'll take 20. So I'll multiply 156 by 20, but I have taken 4 more. I have to subtract it. So multiply, here it is after it's a mistake, it should be a multiplication side. 156 into 4 has to be subtracted. So this is the so what is important here is that Bhaskaracharya is trying to make the content relevant to the lives of children. Many students don't find mathematics interesting because they don't find it interesting. This is what I have experienced when I was working with the rural children, tribal children, municipal school children. So he is an effort to make mathematics relevant to the lives. So here is the example. So ekadvitrivita dimusha vahana mitimaho bruhi me bhumir bhartuh हर्मे रमेष्टमुषे चतुर विरचित श्लक्ष्मण शाला विलासे एकद्वृत्त्यात् द्युक्त्या मधुर कटुषक छायालाम्ल कक्षारतिक्ते एक स्वेद्दश्रय ह्रियुङ्कुन कति वद व्यंजने व्यक्तिभेदा, which says in a pleasant, spacious and elegant edifice with 8 doors constructed by a skillful architect in a palace of lord of land, Tell me the permutations of apertures taken 1, 2, 3, etc. This is regarding the doors. Now, there is a very interesting problem which is relevant to our own life. Say mathematicians, how many are the combinations in one composition with any ingredients of 6 different tastes? Sweet, pungent, astringent, sour, salt, and bitter, taking them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So we make chutney in our house, try to use different contents with different tastes, and here is a question to bake, and you will be surprised to the answer is 63. Okay, so I will complete this, and then I saw one hand raised by someone. I would, if there is a question relevant to this, yeah, otherwise I'll proceed further. So here I told you he started with invocation by praying the Ganesha. So in conclusion, which is the last sloka, which says, Yesha jutati guna varga vibhushitangi शुद्धा खिल व्यवहरती खलु कंठसक्ता लीलावती हसर सोक्ति मुदाहरंती तेषांस दैव सुख संपत्तु पैति वृद्धि. So the translation is, the joy and happiness is indeed ever increasing this world for those who have clasped to their throats, decorated as the members with neat reduction of fractions, multiplication and involution, pure, perfect, as are the solutions, and as tasteful as the speech which is exemplified. So he says, if you really understand mathematics given in this, you will learn so many skills, and he praises the book in a way. Okay, so as I told you, there was a hand raised. Is there urgency to discuss that? I have 4 more slides to present. Or should I complete those and come
The
back?
question answer will be taken care at the end
Okay,
of the talk.
fine. Okay. So what I have done today is I have given you the pedagogical analysis of Bhaskaracharya's Lilavati. What are as I told you, there are 260 shlokas. I could only cover a few. And I have actually not solved any problem. I have given you only examples. So as it was told, 2014 was the 900th birth anniversary of Bhaskaracharya. So we decided that we will have a conference called Bhaskara 900. And interestingly, Professor Dani, who is present in this, inaugurated this conference at Thane. You can see Professor Michio Yano, from whom I got motivated to learn. He was one of the important guests here. You can see people from different countries. Even though they are wearing saris, they are from New Zealand, from America, and from various countries. This was a very great conference. So the papers presented in this conference has been uh, edited and put forth and put together in a book called Bhaskara Prabha. And this has been edited by Professor Ramasubramaniam of IIT, Takao Hayashi of Japan, and Clemency Montele of New Zealand. So this is available at Hindustan Book Agency. Okay. Now, see, conference brings experts, and you discuss all that. So when I had read the book, I communicated to Professor Vishio Yano that I have read the book, understood it, these are the special features. So he said, you must share it with the students and teachers. The knowledge should not be kept with you. In Marathi, we say, जे जे आपणासी ठावे ते इतरांनी शिकवा इतरांशी शिकवावे शहाणे करून सोडावे सकळ जन. It's basically the same suggestion he was giving. I said, how can I do that? He said, don't worry, you start telling people that you will conduct workshop on that. So I started conducting workshops from January 2014 at various places. I started from Madhya Pradesh, of course, lot many in Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc., etc. And you will be surprised to know that I could conduct 100 workshops in a span of one full year, from January to December. And each workshop lasts for 3 hours. Usually when I go to school and tell the headmaster usually says, our students won't sit for 3 hours, so make it short. So I promise them, if they get bored, I'll stop. Usually this doesn't happen. Students get so much interested. Not only they attend it for 3 hours, of course there is a small gap in that, but they also continue solving problems after that. So what I do is I divide it into two parts. Part one is devoted to giving background of mathematical genius that Indian mathematicians have displayed, taking examples from the work of Katyayan, Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta, Varahamihir, Mahaviracharya, and Bhaskaracharya. My aim is to say that India has a very strong base of mathematics, starting from uh, many years ago. So starting from Shulba Sutra, I come to Bhaskara 1. And then in the second part, I devote to the work of Bhaskara 2 and the examples from Lilavati. So I have conducted this in schools, colleges. In fact, I have also conducted them for engineering students, medical students. On one occasion, I was invited to conduct a workshop by the members of small-scale industries in Thane. Of course, what I do is, depending on who is the client, I choose different examples. If it's a primary school, I have examples suitable to them. If it is at the college level, I have examples suitable. Fortunately, from 260 shlokas, I have the freedom of choosing whatever is required. So this is a very successful activity going on. So during Corona period, it was not possible for me to go to different schools and conduct. So we started conducting webinars in Marathi. And this was for the benefit of course, Marathi speaking students and teachers. A large number of students enrolled for this. This MAP Epic Ganitale, which is in Pune, they took the responsibility, administrative responsibility of contacting students, teachers, sending the link, ensuring that they register, etc., etc. And so I conducted 24 sessions every month, 2 sessions. So this was February 2021 to January 22. So 24 sessions. So try to complete the entire book in 24 sessions. Then after the success of Marathi, we started getting requests to conduct the workshops in Hindi. So there was a request from government of Haryana. So on their request, last academic year, I conducted similar workshops in Hindi. Of course, I'm not that good at Hindi, but then I could manage it. There is a Hindi version of Lilavati available, which I could use it. So, and what I'm like to share is, this was a very successful, even though the face-to-face, of course, you get immediate feedback. In the webinar mode, of course, you don't get immediate feedback, but then you can see from the questions that they raise. They were also encouraged to send questions, and then we had the correspondence. We could see that the response was quite positive. Okay. So I am now coming to my concluding remarks. So my first remark is, Lilavati is a great mathematical treatise, full of interesting and challenging mathematical problems, and they prove useful in removing the fear of mathematics and in generating interest towards it. I'm telling this responsibly because I have worked with students from rural areas, from tribal areas, from slum dwellers. So they get so much interested in such problems. So the pedagogic analysis of book shows that the teaching strategies advocated by Bhaskaracharya are relevant even in the 21st century. The psychologists, educational psychologists that are available nowadays, or the who gave ideas in the last century, they were not there. But Bhaskaracharya used all those techniques, like challenging, addressing the problem solver as a friend, sakhe, bale, sakha, like that, which is a very interesting thing. And interesting, my most important thing is, Lilavati is now available in many Indian languages. Hindi translation is available, Marathi, as I told you, Telugu translation is available, Kannada is available, Gujarati is also available. And therefore, what I think is, there is a possibility of using these local language books in their schools. And I urge the teachers, I don't know whether it will be part of a syllabus or it has to be an additional class. I really do not know. But if the teacher wishes, he or she can do anything. Teacher can achieve miracles. So, and therefore, my idea is that looking at this book, I find it very relevant even the 21st century, especially in the light of bringing an Indian knowledge system into our education uh, system. And therefore, this is the point that I wanted to make. So I thank you all for listening so patiently. As I told you, I am not a Sanskrit scholar. I am also not a mathematician by profession. But because few incidents occurred, I got interested. And I see if I can get interested, anyone can get interested in this such a wonderful treatise. It was written so well. After completing my task of Lilavati, I entered into studying Bijganit. Once again, the Bijganit is also very interested. Uh, he wrote 4 books: Lilavati, Bijganit, and then there are 2 more books: Goladhyay and Grahaganit. So I could study Lilavati, then Bijganit, and there are few more still remaining. So I stop here. If you have any questions, comment, I would be happy to
So thank you,
respond.
Professor, for giving the key aspects of